Hey, welcome back, guys. Well, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times in the Powerverse. This week, we got some very long-awaited news in regards to the birth of a new show, a show that will cover the history of Ghost and Tommy, similar to Raising Kanan, which currently covers his origins as well. And on the heels of this positive news, the negative came right up on under that, in the form of the recent cancellation of Power's new flagship show and most beloved show since the original Power series. And that is the death of Power Book 2 Ghost. As if the first death of Ghost wasn't hard enough. Right on the heels of the announcement of the new series, we got new teaser images for Power Ghost, which is just about standard this time of year, given the many schedules of the spin-off shows. However, many fans, including this commentator, were taken way aback when the teaser suggested that this will be the final season of Power Ghost. Final as in, that's it? As in no more Tariq at Stanfield? What about all these unanswered questions? This pending war, the recoupment of Ghost's will items by Tariq, including the clubs, the money, and everything else Ghost was going to leave to his son. What happens to all of these things? Tariq is just starting to get away from his mother and his family at large, just finally placing them into a position where they're safe. So what about the life that he leads hereafter? Well, according to Stars, these and other questions are going to all have to be answered during this season, in a two-parter no less. The first part of which will air on June 7th, which was when the original Power series first entered television, way back on June 7th, 2014. So this will be the exact 10-year anniversary of the now classic series and franchise. But let's get into the reasons for the cancellation, along with the breakdown of some of the new images. According to Deadline, Stars has canceled Power Book 2 Ghost, with the show's fourth season to serve as its last. It will be broken down into two parts, premiering June 7th and September 6th. The article goes on to state that the move was prefaced by Stars CEO Jeffrey Hirsch this week when he revealed plans to contain content costs by developing more new shows versus sustaining series longer as they become more expensive. Because of course it always comes down to the money, but I'll let him elaborate. He said while using the Power franchise as an example, you look at the Power map and say, okay, if I take one of those characters out and spin one of those out, I can bring that on to replace the Power show at half the cost. Now I'm putting a lot of money right to the bottom line, and I'm really not losing anything in terms of acquisition costs and subscriber viewership, because we know what those demos want, and we know how to line those up. And so that's really the core of getting to that 20% margin, turning that slate over with fresh content to drive the business. Not only does this explain some of the reasons why they're canceling Power Ghost at its fourth season, but it also explains why they're initiating the other show, Power Origins, which fans have long clamored for. Even way back when the spinoffs was first being announced, the spinoff we most wanted to see was that of an early Ghost and an early Tommy running the streets of New York and finding their ways to become the biggest goddamn drug dealers. Ironically enough, it was something that at that time was discouraged by Courtney Kim. And she said something to the effect of, well, that story's already been told. And I wouldn't do a series like that because there aren't any stakes to it. Because you know every episode what's eventually going to happen to Ghost and even Tommy. And you know that their fates are way long down the line. So it kind of kills the suspense of a series like that. But interestingly enough, at the same time, they were championing a Kanan series, which essentially would be plagued with the same issue, if we're following the logic of its creator. That issue hasn't stopped Raising Kanan from being one of the better series of the spinoffs. And having finally come to their senses, it seems that Power Origins was the right way to go, if for nothing else at this time, by their own admission, for financial reasons. But what a story that's going to be. And I'm going to get into that in a video to come. But let's stay focused on the Power Ghost series at hand. So if we're taking the Star's CEO, Mr. Hirsch, at his word, this essentially was a money move. Because after all, yesterday's price, as they say, is not today's price. And I'm sure what they were paying Method Man, Mary J. Blige, and what Michael Rainey's salary has warranted with the success of every prior season is more than what they can allow at this time, given that they want to cut back costs. Hopefully it just doesn't take a knock at the story, which many fans have criticized already, especially in regards to some of the classroom scenes and other outstanding things that seem beyond the realm of comprehension or belief. But for this commentator, the show has been one of the most entertaining and engaging, And if you had to measure it against the other shows, the social media response pales in comparison. Raising Kanan does well when it's on, and people love it. And even Power Force, which is the lesser of these spin-off series, has its own engagement crew, and people love it when it's on as well. But when Power Ghost comes on, it does something else to the internet. I mean, the memes, the engagement, just everything. It inspires a lion-like response from the Power fanbase, a response only rivaled again by its original predecessor. But it seems that good old economics has come on down to rear its ugly head. And although that's a bit disheartening, even to those parties involved, many of the stars claiming to only hear about the situation when we all did. But nevertheless, this season is sure to be one of the craziest, as when it last left off, Tariq's back was literally against the wall, as a line has been drawn in the sand, and him and Brayden are officially on their own, taking on the Tejada family, the various women in Tariq's life who were once his allies, and the big bad Noma, who was introduced last season. It will be war, and hopefully the season that's split into 2 parts is split into 2 10-part episodes as opposed to 5 episodes in the summer and 5 episodes in the fall. That's the only part that is yet to be confirmed, although it's rumored to be 10 and 10, so we could possibly get a 20-episode installment of that final 4th season, which is kind of like a 2-for-1 in the grand scheme of things, but fingers crossed on that part. But let's get into more of the story items, which also came out in the Deadline article today. It stated that Starz teases that Season 4 will find Tariq St. Patrick and Brayden Weston against the world as they form new alliances and find their way back into the game. But when Brayden starts flirting with the reckless new lifestyle, Tariq wonders if there really is room for 2 at the top. Monet finally might have met her maker, but she has no idea who's behind it. Davis, suspended and pending disbarment in the wake of his brother's death, fully embraces the criminal side of his enterprise and finds himself working for both sides, his loyalty dependent on whichever will benefit him most. Faced with the reality that life can end in just a few ways, Effie buckles down on getting out and securing a legit future at Stanford. After last season's betrayal, Diana and Drew question their roles in the game and the family business, while Kane sees an opportunity to level up when he starts working for Noma. As Noma fights to establish her business in the States, she also tries to keep a close eye on her bratty daughter, Anaya, or Anya, who is now on Tariq and Brayden's radar. With the fate of his future in the game and his family at the forefront, Tariq must reconcile his past to rise to the top of the food chain and become who he needs to be to protect those he loves most. Now that is quite a mouthful, but it gives us a nice general overview of where our characters' stories will pick up and carry on throughout this 4th and final season. It even hints at a potential split between Tariq and Brayden, something which I'm sure they'll get through rather quickly, as their brotherhood left off tighter than ever before, and whatever may threaten it will only be a temporary situation, especially with the 2 being at war. And with this being the 4th and final season, one thing we do know for sure is that there's going to be some major deaths, likely a major one to kick off this season, one to hold us over during the break, and several more in the second half of the season. But this is something that I'll get into in a video to come in regards to the death predictions, because no good or evil deed goes unpunished in the Powerverse, and many of the Tejadas have levied sins against our series lead, sins that must be answered for, and that certainly will be. But I don't want to put too much on anybody. This news has been harrowing enough. As much as we all hated Tariq in the beginning, by the responses I'm seeing on social media, we all don't want to see this series go. I mean, sure, Tariq is a treacherous little asshole who did shoot his father, the legendary Ghost Man, who is the GOAT, and whose origin series is going to be a silver lining in an overall dark time in the Powerverse. But they somehow managed to rise like a phoenix from the ashes of this situation and make Tariq, dare I say, a sympathetic character, albeit one with no end goal, because Tariq has been doing the same thing for a few seasons now, and one would say that, or one could question that rather, what is his motivation? Why is he hustling at this point? And now that his family is secure, who is he truly moving for? And what is he moving towards? These are the type of questions they're going to have to answer in this 4th and final season. Answers that we're all looking forward to, and hopefully no leaks or anything will take away from the epic conclusions to come. But that'll do it for this one. What are your thoughts on the pending cancellation of the Power Ghost series? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beat, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.